Hello and welcome to another segment of
Bible Reading with Wally! Woo!
This is where we go through and look at various sections in the Bible that really caught my attention as I was initially waking up as being like, that's a little bit odd. That's a little bit different than the narrative that we got from the watchtower when we were growing up and when we were being indoctrinated. So this one, I just have to say, is not like an easy read, and it's not that funny. And I know I try and add a lot of humor in whatever way that I can on this channel.
Are you sure about that?
But this account, there's just not that much humor in it. Luckily for us, at least from my eyes, I don't see this as something that literally happened, because if it did, it would certainly be one of the worst war crimes ever committed in human history. It's really rough to read. But anyway, let's jump into it. We're looking at the book of Numbers. So originally I was going to talk about Balaam because I thought that account was kind of weird. I can talk about it very briefly, but in a nutshell, Balaam was continuing to go to Jehovah and ask, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And, Jehovah kept telling him what to do, and Balaam just kept listening. And even though people were offering him, like, all of the money in their entire kingdom, Balaam was like, no, I will not do anything unless Jehovah tells me to. And then a couple chapters later, without any explanation whatsoever, the Israelites end up killing him.
You are to be stoned to death. Look, I'd had a lovely supper, and all I said to my wife was that piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah. Blasphemy!
So you have this prophet of Jehovah, because obviously if he's talking and interacting with him, that's, literally has the whole world offered to him, and he's like, nope, sorry, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then eventually he just gets killed by the Israelites with no explanation at all. Now, there are some other verses later on in the Bible that try and tackle this and said, well, he's the one that tried to incite the account that we're going to be talking about with the Midianites. But to me, when I first heard that, I was like, that's a little bit strange or odd. And throughout the whole account, it's like God keeps flip-flopping what he's saying. Anyway, so that's just that one in a nutshell. I guess I could cover it more in depth if we ever make it through this series all the way to Revelation. Maybe we'll just start at Genesis again. So, in Numbers chapter 31, we have this account of the ramifications of the Israelites basically going around and getting with the women of, I think it was Moab that originally they were going out with. And then one of the Zimri, he brought a Midianite woman in front of the tent where Eleazar and Phinehas were hanging out. And so Phinehas, I think he was a priest or something, he comes out with a spear, kills Zimri, and then the girl's name apparently was Cosby in the story, and stabs her through the genitals. If anyone has ever read the book, The Rape of Nain King, or, just knows about that really difficult, sad point in history, especially if you've read the book, because I think there were actually pictures in there, but like visually, like how absolutely repulsive this is. And yet God's like, good job. You did an awesome thing there, because I don't tolerate, anyone that doesn't want to worship me. So after this happens, basically they just decide, okay, well, we're gonna just wipe out all of the Midianites. So they get their army together and they go and they kill every single man in the entire camp, and they bring back with them all of the women and the children. Now, when they come back, Moses gets furious at them. He's angry that, why didn't you kill all of the women and all of the little boys? What are you doing? So they go back and they kill every single, boy, boy and woman that hasn't had sex with a man. So they keep all of the virgins alive. More on that later. So I was just kind of thinking, because at the end of this, they talk about how many virgins they kept as slaves, and it was 32,000. So I was just trying to like run a rough calculation about how many people they would have had to kill that they had brought back as captives. So with 32,000, virgins, I'm assuming, most of them had brothers. And of course, all of them had mothers. But assuming just like rough numbers, I would say like 50,000 might just be a safe assumption of women and little boys that they wanted to kill. Because remember, they had already killed all the men. So these are, little boys that weren't of even fighting age. And I just looked up on the internet how long it would take you to count to 50,000. And it seems like it's about 10 hours. So it would take you 10 hours to count to 50,000. And they slaughtered 50,000 people, little boys and women that had ostensibly nothing to do. I mean, it's a war crime, right? So we don't like something that one person did, or we don't like something that, a few people did. So we're going to wipe out your entire nation. It's genocide in the most disgusting way you can possibly imagine. So I mentioned earlier that the account goes into and says that they divvy up all of the virgin girls. And it's curious because like each person or each tribe that was involved in this mass slaughter got a certain amount of the booty. That was the wrong choice of words, but I guess that is the right word, but it just sounds a little awkward. So after they divvied everything up, they were supposed to give a certain percentage to the high priest. So at the end of all of this, you have this point where it says that, and this is how many virgin girls that the high priest got. It's not saying that, well, they just took them and they raped them and, that was the whole story. But to me, you almost have to assume that. Maybe it's not good to, make assumptions, or maybe I shouldn't even leave this in the part in the video. But to me, you're being dishonest if you're going to say that these people were just going to let them, grow up until they were fully mature and they could marry whoever they wanted. No, these girls that were having their parents slaughtered in front of them, their brothers slaughtered in front of them, their fathers slaughtered, everyone around them just was killed in front of their eyes. And I just wanted to know what the Watchtower had to say about this. And in the Insight book, it says this on page 76 of volume 1 of the Insight book. It says, "In the battle with Midian, the Israelites preserved alive only virgins from among the women and girls. The law allowed for the taking of a wife from among such parentless female war captives. Within the Promised Land itself, God's warning concerning marriage alliances with pagans was often ignored, with resulting problems and apostasy." That's what they said. Well, the Mosaic Law allowed for people to take foreign women as their wives if they were parentless. So did they kill all of the parents so that they could take them as their wives? And it was like, hey, it's not illegal to kill and murder these people because apparently we have God's blessing. So as long as I kill someone's parents, I can take her as my wife. And again, we don't really know like how old or anything these were, but I just find this whole story just to be so problematic in a lot of various different ways. So that ends my low-level diatribe of the book of Numbers. Please let me know if you have some sort of answer to the morality of what is going on here. I completely see it as a war crime, and I don't know how you get out of that. But I'm always open, and I love learning, and I like to, have honest and open debates and discussions, because I think it's one of the healthiest ways that we can actually get to something like truth, or something that is likely to be true. So thank you so much for reading the Bible with Wally, and we'll see you next time.